The Storm's Blessing. The rain came without warning, transforming Westbrook's usually charming streets into rushing streams. Olivia Reed hurried from the library, clutching her canvas bag of books against her chest, when she spotted an elderly woman beneath the awning of a closed bakery, looking utterly bewildered. While others rushed past with umbrellas and hunched shoulders, something about the woman's distress made Olivia pause. The woman wore an elegant blue dress unsuitable for the weather, her silver hair becoming damp despite her attempts to stay dry. "Are you all right?" Olivia asked, stepping under the awning. "Do you need help getting somewhere?" The woman turned, relief flooding her face. "Oh, thank goodness. I was waiting for my driver, but I can't seem to remember." She trailed off, confusion clouding her warm brown eyes. "I'm Olivia. Why don't we go somewhere dry while you try to remember?" Olivia gestured toward the Painted Cup, a cozy cafe just across the street. "That's very kind. I'm Sophia." "Sophia Martinez," the woman replied, her voice carrying a slight accent that hinted at a life lived in multiple places. Inside the cafe, Olivia ordered tea and settled Sophia at a window table. The older woman's hands trembled slightly as she warmed them around the mug. "My grandson will be so worried," Sophia said. "But I can't recall the address. How silly of me." "It's not silly at all," Olivia assured her. "Do you have his number?" "We could call him." Sophia shook her head. "I left my phone at home. I just wanted to visit my husband's favorite bookshop. It's our anniversary today. Would have been 53 years. A wistful smile crossed her face. "He's been gone 5 years now." Over the next hour, Olivia learned that Sophia had been married to Rafael Martinez, a renowned architect who had designed buildings across the country. They'd traveled extensively, raised 2 children, and eventually settled in Westbrook when their grandson Marco took over the family's technology company headquartered there. "Marco works too hard," Sophia confided, stirring her second cup of tea. "Ever since his parents died in the accident 10 years ago, he's buried himself in that company. So much responsibility for a young man." Olivia shared snippets of her own life, her work at the library, her tiny apartment above the vintage record store, and her dream of writing children's books someday. "You have kind eyes," Sophia observed suddenly. "Like you see the stories in everyone." The cafe door swung open with force, bringing with it a gust of rain-scented air and a tall man in a tailored charcoal suit. His dark hair was slightly damp, his expression a mixture of concern and relief as his eyes landed on Sophia. "Abuela," he breathed, rushing to their table. "Marco," Sophia smiled. "I'm sorry to worry you. This lovely young woman has been keeping me company." Marco Martinez turned to Olivia, his intense gaze softening slightly. "Thank you for helping my grandmother. We've been searching for hours." "Anyone would have done the same," Olivia replied, suddenly aware of her rain-frizzed hair and the coffee stain on her sleeve. "No," he said quietly. "They wouldn't have." As Marco helped Sophia to her feet, the elderly woman clasped Olivia's hand. "You must come visit me. I have so many books you might enjoy." "I'd like that," Olivia said, genuinely meaning it. Marco handed her a business card. "My personal number is on the back. Please let us thank you properly." As they left, Sophia leaning slightly on her grandson's arm, Olivia couldn't help but notice how the stern lines around Marco's mouth softened when he looked at his grandmother, revealing, just for a moment, the man beneath the polished exterior. Outside, the rain had stopped, and sunlight was beginning to break through the clouds. Walls of glass. 3 days after the storm, Olivia found herself standing before the Martinez estate, an architectural marvel of glass and stone nestled against the cliffs overlooking the Pacific. The security guard checked her name against a list before waving her through the imposing gates. "Ms. Reed?" a voice called as she approached the front entrance. Marco Martinez stood in the doorway, more casual than their first meeting in dark jeans and a simple gray sweater that somehow still looked expensive. "Thank you for coming," he said, extending his hand. His palm was warm against hers, the handshake brief but firm. "My grandmother hasn't stopped talking about you." The interior of the home was breathtaking. Open spaces filled with natural light, museum-quality art, and surprisingly comfortable-looking furniture. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed an expansive view of the ocean below. "Your home is beautiful," Olivia remarked, taking in the blend of modernity and warmth. "My grandfather designed it," Marco replied, a hint of pride in his voice. "Said he wanted a house that felt like it was embracing the sky." Sophia was waiting in a sunroom filled with flowering plants, her face brightening when she saw Olivia. "You came. Come sit with me. Marco, bring those pastries from the kitchen, please." When Marco left, Sophia leaned forward conspiratorially. "He's been checking the window every 10 minutes to see if you'd arrived." Olivia felt heat rise to her cheeks. "I'm sure he's just being polite." "Marco is many things, but merely polite isn't one of them," Sophia said with a knowing smile. The afternoon passed pleasantly with stories and laughter. Sophia showed Olivia photo albums spanning decades, Raphael and Sophia dancing in Barcelona, their children growing up across continents, a young Marco graduating from MIT. "You've lived such an extraordinary life," Olivia said. "Life is extraordinary no matter how you live it," Sophia replied. "It's about who shares it with you." Later, when Sophia retired for a nap, Marco invited Olivia to walk through the gardens. A comfortable silence settled between them as they strolled among carefully tended roses. "You're not what I expected," Marco said finally. "What did you expect? Someone looking for something?" His directness surprised her. "Most people who approach my family want something." "I'm not most people," Olivia replied, meeting his gaze steadily. "No," he agreed, something shifting in his expression. "You're not." As they rounded a corner, they came upon a small building separate from the main house. "My workshop," Marco explained, hesitating before adding, "Would you like to see it?" Inside was a stark contrast to the polished tech mogul image. A cluttered space with half-finished wooden furniture, tools hung neatly on walls, and the comforting smell of sawdust. "You make furniture?" Olivia asked, running her fingers along the smooth edge of what appeared to be a rocking chair. "It helps me think," Marco admitted. "The company doesn't know. Bad for the ruthless CEO image." His smile held a touch of self-deprecation. "Is that who you are? Ruthless?" Marco's expression sobered. "When I need to be. Martinez Tech employs thousands. Those decisions can't always be kind." "But they can always be fair," Olivia countered. Something flickered in his eyes, surprise, perhaps respect. "Yes," he said quietly. "They can." As evening approached, Marco insisted on driving Olivia home himself. The sleek black car seemed out of place on her modest street, drawing curious glances from neighbors. Outside her apartment, Marco hesitated. "My grandmother is hosting a small dinner party this weekend. Nothing formal. She'd love it if you came." He paused. "So would I," Olivia smiled. "I'd like that." Watching his car disappear around the corner, Olivia wondered at the strange turn her life had taken, and why the thought of seeing Marco again made her heart beat a little faster. Whispers of memory. Over the next few weeks, Olivia became a regular visitor at the Martinez home. What began as visits to Sophia evolved into something more complex. Dinners where conversation flowed effortlessly, impromptu piano duets with Marco, his classical training complementing her self-taught style, and long walks through the property's winding paths. Today, Olivia sat beside Sophia on a garden bench, watching hummingbirds dart among flowering bushes. The older woman's health seemed to fluctuate, some days vibrant, others more fragile. "Tell me about your parents," Sophia requested, adjusting her light shawl against the ocean breeze. "My father was a high school literature teacher," Olivia said, smiling at the memory. "He read to me every night, voices for all the characters. My mother was a nurse, practical in everything except her garden." "She could grow anything." "What?" Sophia asked gently. "Car accident when I was 19, Olivia replied. Coming home from their anniversary dinner. Sophia's warm hand covered hers. "So we share that grief. Different, but the same." From the terrace above, Marco watched them. Two women from entirely different worlds, heads bent together in conversation. Something unfamiliar tugged at his chest, an emotion he'd long suppressed. Later, as rain began to fall, the three gathered in the library. Sophia insisted Olivia read aloud from her current writing project, a children's story about a lighthouse keeper who befriends sea creatures. "It's not finished," Olivia protested, but Sophia was determined. As Olivia read, Marco found himself captivated not just by the story, but by the animation in her face, the gentle confidence in her voice. When she finished, Sophia applauded enthusiastically. "You must publish this," she insisted. "Children need stories with heart." "I've tried," Olivia admitted. "But publishing is a difficult industry to break into." Marco, who had been quietly listening, spoke up. "I might know someone who could help. No promises, but I could arrange a meeting." Olivia studied him carefully. "Because you believe in the story, or because you want to do me a favor?" "Both," he answered honestly. "Is that wrong?" "No," she said after a moment. "Just unexpected." That evening, when Sophia retired early, Marco invited Olivia to his rarely used music room. The baby grand piano gleamed in the soft lighting. "My grandmother mentioned you played," he said, gesturing to the bench. They sat side by side, the proximity sending warmth through Olivia's veins. Marco began a simple melody, and Olivia joined in, adding complementary notes. Without discussion, the music evolved. Sometimes he led, sometimes she did, creating something neither could have composed alone. When their hands brushed, neither pulled away. "I've never played with anyone like that," Marco said afterward, voice hushed in the quiet room. "Neither have I," Olivia admitted. Their eyes met, and for a moment Olivia thought he might kiss her. Instead, Marco gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, his fingers lingering against her cheek. "You make me remember things I'd forgotten about myself," he confessed. "What things?" "That I used to laugh more." "That work isn't everything." His voice dropped lower. "That connection matters." The moment was interrupted by Marco's phone, a business emergency requiring immediate attention. As he drove her home later, preoccupation creased his brow. At her door, Olivia impulsively reached out, smoothing the worry line between his eyebrows with her thumb. "The world won't end if you rest sometimes." Marco caught her hand, pressing a kiss to her palm that sent electricity through her. "I'm beginning to believe that," he murmured. That night, both lay awake in their separate worlds. Olivia in her cozy apartment surrounded by books, Marco in his modernist bedroom with its view of endless ocean, each wondering if they were brave enough to bridge the distance still between them. When shadows fall. The call came at 3:17 a.m. Sophia had fallen. Olivia arrived at the hospital still in her pajamas beneath a hastily thrown-on coat, her hair wild, heart racing. She found Marco in the waiting room, shoulders hunched, staring at nothing. "How is she?" Olivia asked, breathless. Marco looked up, relief washing over his exhausted features. "Stable, mild concussion, broken wrist." His voice cracked. She was confused, couldn't remember where she was. Without hesitation, Olivia sat beside him, taking his hand. "What did the doctors say?" "Early-stage dementia. They think she's been hiding symptoms." He squeezed his eyes shut. "How did I not notice?" "Because she didn't want you to," Olivia said gently. "She told me once that she never wanted to be a burden to you." Marco's laugh was hollow. "She raised me after my parents died. She could never be a burden." They sat in silence, hands intertwined, until a nurse called Marco's name. Before following her, he turned to Olivia. "Will you stay?" "As long as you need," she promised. The following days brought difficult decisions. Sophia needed more care than either had realized. Marco threw himself into research, interviewing specialists, reading medical journals until dawn. "You need to rest," Olivia insisted one evening, finding him asleep at his desk, surrounded by papers. "I can't fail her," he mumbled, disoriented from exhaustion. "You're not failing her by taking care of yourself," Olivia said, helping him to the couch. She sat beside him, and without thinking, he lay his head in her lap. As she stroked his hair, Marco whispered, "I don't know how to do this." "Nobody does," Olivia replied. "We just do our best." He looked up at her, vulnerability evident in his eyes. "We," she confirmed softly. That night changed something between them. The careful distance they'd maintained dissolved into something honest and raw. When Marco finally kissed her, in the dim light of his kitchen at midnight after a long day at the hospital, It felt inevitable, like the fulfillment of a promise neither had spoken aloud. Sophia returned home with full-time nurses and a determination to maintain her independence. On good days, she worked in her garden or played chess with Marco. On difficult days, when memories slipped like water through her fingers, Olivia read to her or simply sat beside her, holding her hand. One lucid afternoon, Sophia beckoned Olivia to sit beside her window overlooking the sea. "He's different with you," Sophia observed, nodding toward Marco, who was on the phone in the garden below. "Lighter." "He makes me different too," Olivia admitted. "Braver, maybe," Sophia smiled. "Love should make us more ourselves, not less." She took Olivia's hand, examining it as if reading a future there. "Promise me something. Anything. When I'm gone, don't let him retreat behind his walls again." "Sophia." "No tears," the older woman insisted. "I've had a beautiful life. But Marco, he hasn't really lived his yet." That evening, Marco found Olivia crying on the terrace. Without words, he wrapped his arms around her, holding her against his chest as the sun set over the ocean. "She's preparing us," Olivia whispered against his shirt. "I know," he murmured into her hair. They stood entwined as darkness fell, neither willing to let go. Later, in the privacy of Marco's room, their embrace deepened into something more. Tender at first, then urgent, as if they could somehow hold back time through the connection of their bodies. In the moonlight, they discovered each other, every curve, every scar, every whispered confession. Afterward, lying in the tangled sheets with her head on his chest, Olivia felt Marco's tears against her hair. "I never thought I could need someone this way," he confessed, voice rough with emotion. "Is that terrible?" she asked. His arms tightened around her. "It's terrifying," he admitted, "but I wouldn't change it." As autumn faded into winter, Sophia's good days grew fewer, but there was a gentle peace in her manner, especially when she watched Marco and Olivia together, his hand unconsciously seeking hers across the dinner table, the way Olivia could make him laugh even on the hardest days. On a clear December evening, with Christmas lights twinkling in the garden she loved, Sophia Martinez closed her eyes for the final time, Marco and Olivia beside her family complete. The light between. The winter ocean churned gray and restless beneath a pale sky. 1 month after Sophia's passing, Olivia stood at the edge of the cliff path watching waves crash against the rocks below the Martinez estate. The house behind her had been too quiet since the funeral, Marco retreating into work, the spaces between them growing despite their shared grief. She hadn't expected to find the envelope on her doorstep that morning. Her name in Sophia's elegant handwriting. Inside, a key and a note. "The Lighthouse Studio. Noon today. Bring Marco." Finding him had been the challenge. His assistant claimed he was unavailable. His phone went to voicemail. Finally, desperate, Olivia had driven to Martinez Tech headquarters, talking her way past security with a determination that would have made Sophia proud. She found Marco in a glass-walled conference room surrounded by executives. Through the transparent walls, she saw his expression shift from surprise to concern when he spotted her. "5 minutes," he said after joining her in the hallway, checking his watch. "Sophia left something for us," Olivia said, holding up the key. "Both of us. Today at noon." His face softened momentarily before the corporate mask slipped back into place. "I have meetings all day." "She's gone, Marco," Olivia interrupted, her voice breaking. "Whatever this is, it's the last thing she'll ever give us. Can't the world wait for an hour?" Something in her words reached him. He nodded once, made a call to reschedule, and followed her to the car. They drove in silence to the small lighthouse at the edge of the property, a decorative structure Raphael had built for Sophia decades ago. Inside, they found the studio space transformed. Easels displaying enlarged photos chronicled not just Sophia's life, but moments from the past several months. Olivia and Marco playing piano, laughing in the garden, standing together at the Christmas tree. Moments Sophia had quietly captured. When they weren't looking, in the center of the room sat a wooden chest. Marco instantly recognized his grandfather's craftsmanship with an envelope propped against. Marco opened it with trembling hands, reading aloud. My darlings, if you're reading this, I've gone to dance with Raphael again. Don't mourn too long. I've had a beautiful life, made more beautiful by watching you two find each other. He paused, emotion tightening his throat. Olivia squeezed his hand, encouraging him to continue. Inside this chest are treasures for your future. Marco, my love, remember what your grandfather always said. We build walls to keep out the cold, but windows to invite in the light. Don't close yourself off from the light Olivia brings you. Olivia, dear girl, the key around your neck now opens more than this lighthouse. You've already unlocked my grandson's heart, something I feared might remain closed forever. Trust that gift. Life is too precious and too brief for hesitation. Love each other well. I'll be watching. All my love, Sophia. Together they opened the chest. Inside lay Raphael's journals, family recipes, photo albums, a legacy of memories. Beneath them, they found a velvet pouch containing 2 gold bands and a small deed. It's for the cottage on the north side of the property, Marco said, examining the deed. She's giving it to you. To us, Olivia corrected, showing him the names listed jointly on the document. Marco took her hands, finally meeting her eyes fully for the first time since the funeral. I've been pulling away, he admitted. After losing her, the thought of risking my heart again, I know, Olivia said. I've been afraid too. But she knew, didn't she? That we'd need this push. Olivia smiled through tears. She always saw more clearly than anyone. Marco cupped her face in his hands. I don't want to waste any more time. These past weeks without you, even with you right beside me, I've been half alive. Then come back to me, Olivia whispered. His kiss was an answer. A promise, a homecoming. Spring came to Westbrook, bringing wild flowers to the cliffs and warmth to the air. The cottage, once a forgotten corner of the property, bloomed with new life. Bookshelves lining the walls, a piano in the corner, windows thrown open to the sea breeze. On their wedding day, small and intimate, just as they wanted, Marco and Olivia planted a rosebush beneath Sophia's favorite oak tree. She would have loved today, Olivia said, leaning into her husband's embrace. She orchestrated it, Marco replied with a smile. She knew long before we did. That night, as moonlight silvered the waves below their cottage, they danced on the terrace to the same song that had played at Raphael and Sophia's wedding 60 years before. 2 worlds merged into one, bridges built across differences, a legacy of love continuing beyond memory. And somewhere, Olivia was certain, Sophia was smiling.